In this section, I would like to discuss in brief the features of the Act of 1909. So, to begin with, the first feature of the Act of 1909 was the enlargement of the councils. Under this Act, the strength of the legislative councils, both at the central and at provincial level, was increased. The strength of Central Legislative Assembly, also known as Imperial Legislative Assembly, was increased from 16 to 69. The strength of provincial legislatures was also increased, but it varied from province to province. The second feature, the second provision of this act was regarding the composition of Imperial Legislative Council. The Central Legislative Assembly, also known as Imperial Legislative Council, consisting of 69 members, and these members were divided into two categories: officials, non-officials. There were 37 official members in the central legislature, and these members were in majority. These official members were divided into 9 ex officio members and 28 nominated officials. In the category of non-officials, there were 32 members. Out of these 32 members, 5 were nominated non-officials, and the rest of 27 members were elected. But these elected members were further divided into 4 categories: 13 consisting of general electorates, 7 representing class electorates, 5 came from Muslim community, and 2 came from special electorates. So, in the Central Legislative Assembly, there was the dominance of official members who always supported the moves of the government, as they were the puppets in the hands of the government. The third feature of this act was the enlargement of the functions of the legislative councils. Under this act, the functions and the powers, both at the central and at provincial level, were increased. The members were now given the power to ask supplementary questions as well. They were given the power to discuss the budget and move resolutions on it. The members had the powers to discuss the matters of public interest, but still there were certain limitations on the powers of these members. The members could not discuss certain matters. Besides, the resolutions moved by these assemblies were not binding upon the government, and the government had full say in all the legislative matters. The next provision of this act was with regard to the system of elections. Under this act, recognition was given to the elective principle, and this was a better provision as far as the interests of Indians were concerned. But this provision was marred with the division of electorates into different categories, into different interests. Division of uh, the electorates were divided into general, special, class, and communal basis, and this marked this elective principle. Further, the franchise was extremely limited. Only those persons who possessed certain types of qualification, whether those of property or otherwise, they were given the right to vote. This franchise varied from province to province and from community to community because the franchise qualification among the Muslims were kept lower than the rest of the classes. Then, the next feature of this act was the expansion of the executive councils. Under this act, provincial executive councils were enlarged, and for the first time, an Indian was included in Governor General's Executive Council. Another feature of this act was the introduction of communal electorate. This was the most unfortunate feature of this act. For the first time, Muslims were given separate representation. Certain constituencies were notified where the Muslims voters were given the right to vote, neglecting all other communities. This had adverse effects on the future political course of India, as it proved as an inspiration for other communities to demand the same rights. And they were successful in getting these rights in the Act of 1919. This did not rest here. This encouraged the communal elements, and the result was the division of the country into two nations in 1947. Then, another feature of this act was the enlargement of provincial legislatures with so-called non-official majority. Under this act, provincial legislatures were enlarged, but their strength varied from province to province. Further, there was the majority of non-officials, but in reality, it were the officials who dominated these legislative assemblies. For example, there were official members of these legislative assemblies. Then some of the non-officials were also nominated, and these non-officials always supported the official moves, and along with officials they formed majority in the provincial legislative assemblies as well. In this way, the government was successful in maintaining their hegemony over these provincial legislative assemblies also. So, these were some of the features of the Act of 1909. These acts were to satisfy the Indians, but Indians were not satisfied with this act. Therefore, they continued their demands for the establishment of a responsible government in India. As a result of these demands, of the dissatisfactions of the Indian, the government had to pass another act within a short span of 10 years in 1919, under which a semblance of a responsible government at provincial level was established. Thank you.